Bonjour! Welcome to another episode of Cuisine Michelle. I am Michelle. So today I'm going to be trying a recipe that I've never tried before. This is, of course, part of our Christmas goodies countdown. Today is day 12 or number 14 as we count towards Christmas. These are Santa Madeleines, and I'm getting this recipe from Better Homes and Gardens, although I'm not going to follow everything on there exactly, which is my typical when I'm trying out recipes. I adapt them to what I want them to be. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that we have Madeleine molds to do this with. So you're going to need the special shape molds. You want to have whatever, you can buy ones that are metal, but mine happen to be made out of silicone. And so you're going to grease and flour those. I'm not so sure that's necessary with silicone. If you are using a silicone mold, of course you need to have a tray underneath. And you need enough. It says that this is going to make 24 of these. Mine are molds that are 9 each, so I've got 27. I prepared all 27 just in case. Here in the bowl is where we're going to start making the actual stuff here. We need 1 egg, a whole egg I should say, and then 2 egg yolks, large. I guess we want to tell you that it's that size. It's not a special size, so if I ever forget to say what size, I'm just implying it's large. Anyway, it says we're going to put this on high speed for 5 minutes. All right, so you might notice that we switched the blade. The other one was making too much noise with all the scraping, so I decided against continuing with that one. So now that I've mixed this for the 5 minutes, I'm going to be adding 1 cup of powdered sugar that has been sifted. So measure out the 1 cup and then sift it. We're going to mix this on low speed to begin with, just to get it combined. And then once we get it combined, we will switch to high speed for 5 more minutes. All right, so after that stage of mixing, we are now going to put in, this is a 1/2 cup of salted butter, or 1 stick, that has been melted and cooled. So probably I should have told you to get that melted and then let it cool while you have all of this going on. Anyway, we want to add that in. But that's why you should go visit my blog so you can see how the recipe goes before or after watching the video, if you're actually going to try making it. Anyway, we're going to be mixing this on low speed just to get it combined. All right, after mixing that in, the next step is to measure out 90 grams or 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour and add to it 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So you just stir that in. And then we can add that in. We'll just go ahead and add it all in at once since there's not that much. And beat that on low until it is combined. Now it says by hand, we are to stir in 2 teaspoons of, it says finely shredded, so I just grated it with my microplaner, of orange zest or orange peel, and then 2 teaspoons of orange juice. So I just went ahead and made a squeeze out of the orange that I had there. I suppose you could use regular orange juice if you really wanted. All right, so once you have the batter all mixed up, you're going to be putting it into the prepared molds. I went ahead and did this because it was too hard to get that angle. But you want to fill it about 3/4 full. That is a really hard amount to get in there, so just do your best. Don't overfill it. You don't want it completely filled. There is a little bit of gap in there, so I'm hoping that'll be all right. And then we're going to put them in the oven, which is at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and bake them for 10 minutes. Okay, so these have just come out of the oven, the first batch anyway, and it says we are to leave these cooling. You can see that they get just a little bit brown at the edges, so I think it's looking good. I came out with 22 instead of the 27, or the 24 the recipe is supposed to make, so I think I portioned the dough maybe just a slight bit more than what they expected, or it's a difference in the size of the molds that they were using. But anyway, we're going to let these cool in here for just a minute, and then we're going to have them on the rack to cool completely. All right, so these are now plenty cool back there in the background. And we're going to make the powdered sugar icing so that we can make some little Santa hats, or at least that's what I'm going to try to do. In the bowl here, we have 1 cup of powdered sugar. To that, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of milk. And just a couple drops of vanilla extract. Doesn't need to be a lot. And we'll whisk that up. Now you may have to, which I did, add just a little bit more, and I mean just a couple dribbles at a time of milk until you get a consistency like this. You want it to be drizzly, not super thin, but not super thick either. It has to be able to drizzle a bit. To that, we are going to be adding some food coloring. I'm using the Wilton icing color stuff. And I want to get it fairly red, so I'm going to put a pretty good dabble in there. Okay, so I've got the frosting, or I should say glaze at this point, ready. And what I'm going to do is just try to kind of make a little Santa hat up here across the top of the Madeleine. Your choice on which way you want to do this, as far as like how much of a hat you want him to have. Just like that. And then I put it back on my cooling rack so that it can drip in case I had a little bit of extra icing there. All right, so now that I have put the icing on, and I realized after I started doing these, make sure you have it facing this way up if you want the Santa hat to have a little bit of a tip to it. I forgot on some of them, so some of my Santas are gonna have a little bit more of a round cap. Anyway, I made some frosting. The original recipe has buttercream frosting recipe that you can use, so go to the link if you want to do that. To me, buttercream a lot of times has too much butteriness, and also I don't want to have to keep these in the fridge. This is a frosting that is just a recipe in our family. I don't have a set amount for anything when I make this. I just kind of adjust it until it reaches the consistency I want, so I don't have any recipe to offer you on that end. But either way, you need something that's going to pipe really well. So you can see I did a little experiment right here. For the piping, you want it to be able to hold shape. So we're gonna just pipe on here. To give him a little ridge around his thing there. And then if you want to, you could also put one up there. And if you're really feeling sassy, you could also make his beard in here if you want. So I'll do that on this one just to be kind of fun. I think on most of them, I'm probably just going to leave it as the Santa hat because I think it looks kind of cute with just the Santa hat. But the original recipe shows it with a beard in place, so I'll make this one with the beard just for fun. It also has a thing with some black frosting for drawing in the face part. I am not getting that fancy with this. I don't have any black frosting on hand, so we're not going to be doing that. I don't feel like going into that much detail, but feel free to make it your own, personalize. Et voila! So we have a pretty cute Santa here, and I can tell you that I'm not going to do a final plating for this yet, but I do want to tell you I've already tasted it, and so I'll just put a picture of the final plate. We'll do our final plating right here just to kind of close things out. But thank you again for joining me for another episode of Cuisine Michel. Please be sure and like this video, share it with your friends, and give me a comment and subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody who's been subscribing lately. It really, really makes me happy. And please tell your friends to do so too. And we'll see you next time. Au revoir.